What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV. Here's the post-mortem for the Stamford Bridge defeat once again. I don't even know where to start, where to go, but it was
He said he'll
awful.
bring us a cup in the second season.
And he definitely did.
He
He definitely
did
did last night. And
There you go.
Postecoglou definitely outdid himself last night. And you know, look, it wasn't even the worst performance that we've seen in recent weeks, that's for sure. But Chelsea were just shocking. I mean, you're looking at that Chelsea side and you're thinking, wow, we can actually do something. And I actually went into the game a bit more positive, and I was like, look, Spurs can actually do something today. I've just got a sneaky feeling, but it's just that same old case of fool me once, shame on me. Fool me 1 million times. I mean, shame on them. Fool me 1 million times, shame on me.
There's too many. There's not enough sayings I could accurately depict what's going on at Tottenham right now, I think.
It's just so frustrating, man. Just so frustrating. I want to give a massive big up to the fans, though, last night, because way too often in recent weeks, like, dead away ends, dead home stadiums, but the away fans were brilliant last night. With everything surrounding it, 14th in the league, 15 defeats, whatever it is, going into the game, the fans were in complete full voice. It really was. And I actually enjoyed going to the game last night, barring everything that happened in the second half. I had a great time, particularly during the first half. You know, it was non-stop singing, really loud. Hardly heard a peep from the Chelsea fans as well. They tried their best, you know. They brought out a TPO for their big game, and it's just a shame the team and the manager couldn't match it on the pitch.
It must have been a great few minutes when we thought we'd equalised.
Oh, mate, it was scenes. It was absolute scenes when Pape scored, but
Best moment of the season, probably.
one of
the moments of the season was a disallowed goal. In terms of atmosphere going into the game, obviously we were talking about it before. You know, Chelsea like to sing "F off Tottenham" before the game. I'm sure that was very loud before the game.
Yep, it was there, and we were singing "F off Chelsea" in that moment as well. So, look, it is what it is. Chelsea. This is a massive game for them. Look, it's a massive game for us as well. You know, big London derby, Chelsea, big rivals. It would just be nice to get one over them from time to time, but that just doesn't seem to happen. Record for ANGE in general in London derbies is nothing short of tragic, you know, against Chelsea and Arsenal specifically. It's just absolutely shocking. And, you know, the lineups came out yesterday and everyone's going around, yeah, this is our best team. We can actually do something tonight. I mean, the deluded ones were saying that. Most people were actually saying, yeah, it's Chelsea, we're not getting anything. But I was going around saying, yeah, we could do something tonight. But how silly was I?
Yeah, it wasn't a great performance. It wasn't great. Especially, I thought, in the first half, we were shambolic again. We didn't have a shot on target again in that first half, which we barely laid a glove on them. I think they showed a stat midway, all like half an hour in, saying Maddison, Solanke and Son, I think it was, had less touches at that point than Sanchez, the Chelsea keeper, which is absolutely just diabolical. Obviously, they could have been 1-0 up within 30 seconds, couldn't they?
How often does this happen?
Jackson
though?
over the top.
You could just reel the games off. I mean, the Ipswich one comes to mind, but it's just literally just one ball over the top, right in between Van de Ven and Romero, just splits our whole defence. Panic stations, Romero sliding everywhere, Van de Ven hitting it off Nick Jackson, hits the post, and you're just like, oh, what are we in for tonight?
Yeah. They were peppering us a bit in that first half. Obviously, Gusto had a shot that hit the side netting.
It was like the first 15 minutes.
Chelsea fans were celebrating. They thought it was a goal. I saw that. They all thought that nestled into the corner, but it hadn't. Sancho obviously had that chance right at the end of the first half, which was an unbelievable save from Vicario. But Vicario, for all, especially in the first half, had this air of uncomfortability and nervousness about him. He was doing some really weird things. I thought, first of all, his distribution choices were really bizarre. There was a moment where Udogie has two men on him and he passes it right to him. I don't know what he's thinking. Luckily, Udogie gets fouled and we get a free kick, but I don't know why at that point he's deciding to pass it to Udogie at that point. There was a moment Palmer puts a cross in and there's no one around him and he just punches it straight up in the air. Like, he could have easily caught it. He could have even left it and gone out for a goal kick, and he punched it straight up in the air, and it fell false to Jackson, and luckily he doesn't really make anything of it. They had another moment where Palmer gets to the byline. He puts it across the face of goal, and luckily for us, Udogie makes a brilliant challenge. And so we were definitely lucky to go in at 0-0. We didn't. I can't remember anything. I think there was one moment I can remember in the first half that we had. It was actually a really good move. Maddison plays a lovely ball out wide to Son. He puts a ball across the face of goal, and Sanchez had to claw her away, but it wasn't even a shot. It would have probably fallen to Bergvall if Sanchez doesn't intercept it. But other than that, that's pretty much all we had in the first half.
Yeah, look, I felt like after we stemmed the tide of the first 15 minutes, I don't think there was many chances either end until that one you probably think of right at the end, where Vicario pulls off a good save. So I thought we were dealing with Chelsea fairly well for the majority of it after we kind of got past that initial period. But you're looking at the way we're playing and the way we're trying to hurt the opposition. It's been way too long now that we've been so toothless going forward. Like, there's no sort of patterns of play. There's no kind of... I don't know what the plan is anymore with Spurs. You know how, like, when Ange first came in at the beginning of the season, you saw what we were trying to do, and you saw a gung-ho style. You saw we were always able to create chances out of nothing and build up really nicely and maybe even sometimes hit them on the transition. But there's none of that anymore. There really is none of it anymore, and I just don't know what we're trying to do. It feels as like we've just lost all kind of identity under Ange Postecoglou, and it feels like we can't implement his game plan whatsoever. I don't even know what the game plan is anymore.
It's very individualistic, especially I feel, to be honest, around the whole pitch, but mainly I think between the midfield and the attack. There's just no like link up, 1-2s, little balls in behind. There's like asking, trying to break teams down along the penalty area. It's like we lose the ball so easily. We're very, very sloppy, and it seems as though you saw how Chelsea, as soon as they got the ball, 1-2 touches, bam, passes, and all of a sudden they're putting us under pressure. Like, it just seems for us at the moment, everything just is based around little individual moments, Bergvall doing a little trick or something, but there seems to be no connection at the moment between that midfield and attack. It seems to be all based around just individual moments. Even some of the moments we had later on in the game that, you know, Sonny had a chance, it was all just down to a few individual moments, and it's hard to watch. And it just seems like a team at the moment who... They just look like yesterday. They looked like 11 strangers on the pitch. They didn't seem to be like a cohesive unit, and it was especially on the ball. I think defensively, yeah, we had our problems as well. We weren't especially great defensively, but at least you could see at times we were trying to be a bit resolute. We had 11 men behind the ball and stuff like that. But even then, they were still creating chances. But going forward was such a massive concern. Like, we just barely were able to put any sort of patterns together. It was so few and far between. I thought Caicedo was phenomenal yesterday. I thought he was probably man of the match. I thought
he had to go off at one point in the first half.
It was right at the beginning of the game, within 2 minutes, and he seemed to get over it. I think Spence gave him a dead leg, I think, and he seemed to get over it. But Chelsea, what's it called? They looked so much more cohesive than we did yesterday. Caicedo was just breaking up everything we had in the middle. Madison wasn't really doing much when it comes to linking up with Bergvall and Bentancur or Doggy or playing little link-up play. Solanke was so out the game. He couldn't really get involved too much. He did have that little nice pass to Johnson late on, which obviously set up the chance. But yeah, that first half was just so like disjointed again. And especially given that we've had, you know, international break, and we didn't even have a game on the weekend, so players had a bit of extra time on the training pitch and all that kind of stuff. And you hear Vicario at the end of the game in an interview saying we didn't have the energy. I mean, why didn't we have the energy? There's no real reason for us not to have energy in this kind of game, it's just peculiar. And we know that Chelsea are not in great form. They were clearly yesterday even there to be got at, I felt, for sure, yesterday. I didn't even think they played that well. And we just couldn't really do much against a Chelsea side which were clearly not high on confidence and kind of there for the taking.
Yeah, I mean, if they're not high on confidence, what the hell are we? Because we're bereft of ideas, we're bereft of confidence. We cannot get ourselves up for any sort of game at the moment, and it's painful. It really is painful to see. And you're looking at the second half as well. You're thinking, you know, hold on for a little bit. We concede straight away in the second half. Easy goal for them. So easy. No one's tracking down. Spence needs to be stopping that cross coming in with all his might. He's just a bit lazy in that moment. The cross comes in. Van de Ven, what the hell is he doing? He's just like following Romero, and they're both marking the same player. A doggy not coming across, and I mean he would have had a man at the back post as well. I mean it's all wrong. Everything about that goal was wrong about everyone in the back four, and you're looking at it with the quality of player that we have on the pitch. It's like we don't have anyone better than these players. You know, Romero and Van de Ven, brilliant players in their own right. Udogie, we're saying one of the best up-and-coming left-backs in the Premier League. You know what I mean? Spence, we're singing his praises so much over the last 2-3 months. And then they just like show something like that in a massive game like Chelsea. These players have no sort of confidence to play in this system and for this manager anymore, in my opinion. And you're looking at Romero, like, Romero got bullied by Nicholas Jackson last night. I'm telling you, if he had an Argentina shirt on, there's no way he gets bullied by Nick Jackson. I'll tell you that.
There's one moment where the ball goes over the top. Romero's literally ahead of Jackson. He's like shielding the ball, and he just allows Jackson to just shove him off it. And all of a sudden, Jackson gets the ball, and he has a shot over the bar. Like I couldn't understand how Romero was allowing that to happen. We know that Romero is such a physical player. He's a player who plays to his strengths in that aspect, and he likes to bully the opposition, and he's just allowing Jackson to just shove him off the ball like that, like he's not even there. Like, I couldn't believe what I was seeing in that moment, when 9 times out of 10, you know, Romero deals that situation perfectly, and he's usually very comfortable in those kind of situations. And when I was watching it, I was like, what is he doing? How is he allowing that to happen? And Spence is trying to recover it, he slips, and Jackson ended up having a shot which was over the bar. But there was a few moments like that happened where Jackson, obviously Chelsea have been without him for a few weeks, so maybe they were buoyed by his return, but he was a massive threat, I think, throughout the game, running in behind.
Why don't we get buoyed by the players that are coming back? You know what I mean? We've been saying for months and months and months, oh, you just wait till our players come back. You just wait. And then it's just no-shows after no-shows after no-shows. Well, we say. Someone else has been saying.
I never said it.
Yes, you have bloody said it. You've said it every bloody week.
I was very clear. I said I don't think we're going to be amazing when he comes back, but I think we'll be better. That's what I said. And I look, we've won 3 games, but now we've gone 4 without a win. But yeah, look, I think the reality is they've been out for so long. So I think the reality is it's not good. It was never going to click straight away. But I obviously expect better than what I saw yesterday, for sure. Especially in those kind of moments. Romero's been back for a few games now. He should be doing a lot better. We've seen how good he was for Argentina, so there's no excuse for him being bullied by Jackson.
We always see how good he is for Argentina. And let's not forget, by the way, Romero exactly wasn't putting in world-class performances before his injury as well. Let's just remember that as well, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
But whenever he turns up for Argentina, it's world-class displays every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
he did make a howler in the break.
He made a howler, but he was brilliant throughout the whole 90 minutes, apart from that one moment.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I mean, he did some good stuff yesterday as well, but it wasn't all bad.
He was bullied by Nicholas Jackson
for a few times.
He was, and it wasn't just one moment.
No, it was a few times. Yeah, I agree.
Like, you would never see him be that weak in an Argentina shirt. No chance.
In terms of how the second half went, though, obviously Bergvall, I thought Bergvall was having quite a good game.
Yeah.
Bergvall and Odebear, who was pretty anonymous. I didn't mind him going off anyway. Yeah. But obviously there was a flashpoint. Bergvall goes off here and Sarr comes on. The away fans boo the substitution.
Very loud.
Very loudly.
Very loud.
And they start saying, "You don't know what you're doing."
Last night was... You've heard like kind of murmurings throughout away ends and stuff about ANGE, but last night was the first time I felt like an away end was in complete unison, kind of like, look, this manager just needs to go. And it all came to a head at that moment when Bergvall goes off the pitch, because he was our best player. He was the only one kind of driving the team forward. And this isn't a new thing with Bergvall. We've seen this for weeks now, where he's the only one with that kind of drive and that passion to say, look, I'm going to take this game by the scruff of the neck and I'm going to drive this team forward. And he was doing that yesterday at Stamford Bridge. And they take him off. I thought at that moment in time they should have taken Maddison off and brought on and kept Sarr and then put Bergvall in kind of Maddison's spot. But he takes off Bergvall. Massive boos from the away end.
Was that his Mora Bergwijn moment?
Very well. Well, clearly not, because he's still here.
True, fair play. I didn't agree with the decision at the time anyway. I didn't understand it. He was our best midfielder. He said that he felt Bergvall was running out of energy, so he had to take him off. And obviously he was ill last week, wasn't he? But he's been back in training for a few days. And he was our best player. He was definitely our best player. I thought he was the only one showing a bit of quality on the ball. There was that one moment, I think it was in the first half. He just wriggles in between two players, gets us on the front foot. I think he had a shot that was blocked from the edge of on the box when he cuts inside, and he was most likely to make something happen for sure. So I didn't understand the decision to take him off. Although I do think it coincided with probably our best spell of the game in that 10-minute spell after those subs were made. We did all of a sudden look after obviously they scored. They scored. What did they score? 50 minutes, and then he made the sub on 60, and then we scored on 65.
Yeah.
So I thought when he did make those subs, all of a sudden we did look a lot more threatening. Whether it's because of the subs or not, you can make your own conclusions, but it did coincide with probably our most threatening moment of the game. All of a sudden, I think a doggy was getting to the byline, had a few moments.
Our goal was the 71st minute.
71st minute. And when were the subs?
64th.
Okay, so yeah. I thought just before we made the subs, and then probably until we scored, and maybe a few minutes after, that was probably the moment we most looked like scoring. And maybe a bit of momentum might have been shifting. Obviously, we had we didn't have many clear-cut chances, I would say, but we had a few really good moments for cutbacks and stuff like that, which had a few openings. And then obviously we get the goal, and then the big moment happened. We scored the goal. It was a good bit of pressing from Solanke and Sarr, but obviously Sarr ended up being a foul, which it was a foul. We'll get into that, but he had the shot. Sanchez makes a hash of it, goes into the back of the net. It was definitely our nothing, that goal, and we looked like we'd had an equaliser out of nothing a bit.
The whole thing was like a pantomime. It was just all so classic, you know what I mean? Because the manager makes a change, the fans boo the manager really loudly and really ferociously. From that change, Spurs get a little bit better. From that change, the guy that the manager brings on and the sub that the fans booed, he scores a goal from 30 yards.
You got Son shoving him towards the away end to celebrate.
Unbelievable hit, right? And everyone's like, yeah, take shots. And that goes in the back of the net. They're all going mad. The fans are going mad. The players are going mad. Ange is looking over to the away end, cupping his ear and waving to the away end, being like, "Oh, that proves you right for booing me." And then we have to wait.
Do I know what I'm doing now?
Exactly.
Kind of thing.
Exactly. And then after 6 or 7 minutes, the goal gets cancelled. Sarr gets booked. And it's all back to square one again. And then it's an angry away end.
You don't know what you're doing.
It's just. You just cannot write this kind of stuff.
It's the most Spursy thing. That would only happen to a Spurs manager to goad the fans for a decision he makes and it ends up being ruled out. That is... only these things happen to Spurs. It's like the most Spursy moment you're ever likely to see. But yeah, I don't know what Ange is doing when you have to have some humility. Honestly, have some shame. I've defended him, but the reality is we are where we are in the league. We're 14th. And... cupping your ear to the away fans as if you've proven anything by one of your subs scoring when first of all, it's only an equaliser. Second of all, a 1-1 draw doesn't even move us up the table, doesn't even get us above Man United, who have been shambolic. I don't know what he thinks he's proving or what he's celebrating, and what he's doing as well. It's what are you doing? Trying to make your own support look stupid? Is that what your goal is here? But trying to say, look how wrong you are. Look, I do know what I'm doing. Look at me, who's laughing now, kind of thing.
That's
I just thought it was ridiculous.
Said that he was just trying to celebrate a goal that we scored. Do you buy that?
I don't buy it. To be honest, because
if you don't buy it, who the hell is buying it? I don't buy it
because first of all, he's never done that before. First of all, I guess. Well, I don't remember too many times we've sung that substitution at his, but maybe it's happened more. I can't remember too many times. But
apparently the last time we sung You Don't Know What You're Doing was to Nuno.
Maybe. Yeah, that might be true. But I think, what was I going to say? Yeah, so he's never done that before. That's not really an action you want when you've just scored a goal. You don't do that to the away end and start waving to the away fans and cup your ear. That doesn't seem like a natural reaction to try and pump up the fans. You either pump your fist or you go like this or something like that.
What a natural reaction was to pump up the fans is what Sonny did when we scored. Everyone's going on at Sonny saying, "Oh, he's also trying to goad the fans and shushing the fans and all like that." He went up to the away end and went like that, like, "Come on, come on, come on." That is a reaction to pump up the fans, not what Ange did.
I completely agree. And yeah, by the way, we just put on record, I kind of aired some rumours yesterday on the fan show that Sonny had been shushing the away fans or anything like that. Turns out it's absolute rubbish. There's no truth to that.
It was opposite.
It was, to be fair, look, it was flying around social media. I hadn't seen all the footage, and I thought it might, I did say it was a rumour, but it turns out, I've seen the footage now of the full celebrations of the goal. There's absolutely no truth to it. So anyone saying that Sonny was shushing the away fans is just not telling the truth. It didn't happen. I don't know where it came from. Someone's just trying to rile people up on social media by saying it, but there's absolutely no truth to it. Or someone misinterpreted it or whatever. There's absolutely no truth to that. So I just want to put that on record. But yeah, I mean, I was baffled by what I saw from by Ange on the touchline, him doing that. Yeah, in terms of, I just don't believe what he's saying. I think he's trying to get himself out of a sticky situation. Maybe he thought like people wouldn't pick up on it, and that's why I know he was surprised to be asked about it on after the game. But yeah, I thought for sure that is not a natural reaction to your team equalising, is to basically turn to your away fans. Usually, maybe if the home fans are singing "You're getting sacked in the morning," and then your team equalises, you do that to the home fans.
100%.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But you don't. If you're doing it to your own away fans who are singing "You don't know what you're doing" and all that kind of stuff, right? And you're basically essentially trying to make them look stupid by cupping your ear, saying, "What are you saying now? Come on, what are you gonna say now?" And the goal gets ruled out on top of that. I mean, it's absolutely bizarre. It's a circus,
it's
embarrassing. Yeah,
it is
absolutely
embarrassing.
And all it does is foster more toxicity and fosters more division.
It's like, just stay focused on your job. You know what I mean? You're 14th in the league. You're going for a record amount of losses in the Premier League as Tottenham manager. Like, have a bit of shame about you, man. It's ridiculous. I'm telling you, the team are losing confidence week by week. We ain't getting any better. We're getting worse. We can't create chances. Like, the team are bereft of every single little facet that we saw from any sort of Ange Postecoglou team playing well. We're struggling to do anything. We've got big games in the Europa League coming, thick and fast now. Just like, I think we need desperate change right now. If we've got any sort of hope, if we change the manager, then don't get me wrong, I don't think we got a hope anyway, because I don't think we're getting any decent manager in. But in the current state that we're in, with the team dropping in confidence week by week, with us losing week by week, with us not being able to create any sort of chances, how do we expect to go through in the Europa League? Like, the manager needed to go last night, in my opinion, and what he did last night on the pitch towards the away fans just compounds that feeling and just confirms it in my mind. Like, this project, this thing, whatever we've got going on here with Ange Postecoglou is not going anywhere, and he needs to be sacked, and he needs to be sacked before Frankfurt.
The reality is, when you're doing that towards your own fans, and you're literally causing division between your own fans, that only goes one way. It's very hard to win that back, and he's trying to cause more ill will towards him. I don't understand what he was thinking by doing that. I know he's saying he was celebrating a goal, and if that was his intention, then look, whatever. But I don't believe it was. I can't really say that was his intention by what I saw. I can't say anything other than him trying to goad his own fans, which is completely unacceptable, especially with the position that we're in. It's understandable if he was doing a decent job. I mean, I would still say it's unacceptable. I think it would be more understandable if he was doing a decent job and he felt he was getting unfair criticism, and then he was doing that. But the reality is, we are where we are in the league. We are 14th in the league, and we've lost 16 games now in the league. And he's trying to goad his own fans to suggest that he's that the criticism and the fans, what they're airing, is unfair to him, which is it's completely ridiculous. It's a completely ridiculous thing to think, and it goes to show for me where his head's at. And it's kind of trying to make that moment all about him in a way by saying, I know. In the context, I can understand why he feels vindicated by the fact that the sub that he made scored. But the reality is, it doesn't. First, it wasn't even like put us in the lead. It was only to equalise anyway. So it's not like it would have been like it completely changes that much in the game. Just makes it level playing field. And there's still 20 minutes to go. So we could have, maybe we could have conceded another goal. Imagine if the goal would have stood and he does the ear cup and we're going to lose the game anyway. Like how embarrassing as well that would have been. Even though how embarrassing it was,
it probably would have happened.
It was probably might have happened. I just think when you're doing that kind of thing, I think that tells me he's not dealing with the pressure, what's been put on him at all well. And when you're fostering division between your own fans, that has to be a breaking point for me.
So?
What are you asking me here?
You know exactly the question that is coming.
Anyway,
now.
don't we have player ratings
You
today?
said last night you had to sleep on the decision whether you're Ange in or Ange out. I think the majority of the fan base now has got to be Ange out. It definitely felt like that in the away end. I am done. I am completely done. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of this conversation. I'm tired of watching this team just get through games and get beat every single week. I'm tired of watching this shite football and us barely being able to create a chance with the gung-ho manager, by the way. The manager needs to go. That is my opinion. What is yours?
He needs to go.
Oh!
He needs to go.
You heard it here first, people. Sim is
gotta
officially
go.
Ange out.
I think if it wasn't for the Ear Cup, I probably would give him that Europa League. I would say he needs to stay in charge of the Europa League. And I still think probably he's our best chance for it. But the reality is he's got to go. You can't be doing that to your own fans. And you can't be expecting to stay in a job. You're literally goading your own fans. You're literally fostering negativity. You're the one causing it. And I understand there, the excuses and all these kind of things. In terms of the way we played in the game last night, the reality is I know we didn't play well, and I know it wasn't a great performance. It was a narrow defeat. Son had a chance later on. It could have been one of all these different things. And not that we would have deserved it. It would have been against run of play, but I would have been willing to overlook that to give him an opportunity in that Europa League tie because he's got us here and all that kind of stuff. But when you're goading your own fans, when you're literally fostering negativity and toxicity within your own fan base, you're literally trying to, this is a point in the season where we've been through so much awful defeats and so many awful performances and so much, basically so much shit this season. And you have to be doing your best to foster unity and try and have a semblance of let's just get through to this season and try and create a bit of unity between the fans. And he's basically going the opposite way. And he's basically causing more negativity and he's making the whole situation about him. And he's got absolutely no shame about cupping his ear to the fans when in reality we are where we are in the league. That's unacceptable to me. Completely unacceptable.
You know what, Sim? It's been a long road to get here. It's been a long, old road, and
he's cracking under the pressure.
It's been hard. It's been hard over these last 2 or 3 months having these arguments, but it's finally good to be back on the same side once again. Look, we're all Tottenham fans. We all want the best for Tottenham, and I believe this is what the best for Tottenham is, to move on from this manager. I felt like that for a while, but I had been willing to give him the Europa League. But the breaking point is here. We're at the breaking point now, and
the reality is he is still here.
He is still here, yeah.
He is still here. He's probably going to be in charge for Sunday. Wherever, we'll see what happens on Sunday. We'll talk about that later. But then, if he gets through the Frankfurt tie, then what? Are we going to sack him? We're not going to sack him, are we?
No, but look, there's a big chance we lose this weekend to Southampton. There is a chance.
There's a chance. I wouldn't say a big chance, but there's a chance, I guess.
I mean, you look at Southampton, right? They gave Crystal Palace, who are on brilliant form, particularly away from home, like a great game. They were minutes away from beating them.
Yeah, I don't think we lose on Sunday.
Yeah, but you didn't think we would lose against Ipswich. You didn't think we'd lose against Leicester.
No,
and we did.
Yeah. Look, it's not impossible. I'm just saying I don't think we will.
But look, as they say, as some wise men say, it doesn't matter how long it takes for you to get there. There's always a tipping point for everyone. And Sim is finally there. Sim is officially Ange out. And
he needs to go.
He's got to go.
He has to go.
He's got to go.
When you're literally firing against your own fans. I don't know what he's trying to achieve. You can't be doing that. Whatever excuses he's going to put out or reason or whatever. It's unacceptable. Completely unacceptable. And it's a horrible look as well. And I think I don't know what his thought process was in doing that, and that when I saw that, even if the goal stood, it's still unacceptable. Like there's absolutely, and he's been left with egg on his face completely. So you can't stay in a job after that. And if at that point, the feeling is you're basically trying to cause more toxicity. You got to be taken out the firing line. And even if Mason comes, look, I don't think things get much better right now if Mason comes in from in terms of achieving what we want to achieve in the Europa League or anything like that. But maybe it takes that little bit of focus off the managerial situation, the toxicity in the fan base. Do we, like, for example, if Mason was in charge last night, do we get some of those scenes in the away end that we did, and all those kind of stuff, and all the anger? You might just get some apathy. And would I rather apathy than anger right now? Potentially, maybe. I don't know.
The reality is, I feel like this whole ANGE thing is just taking away from the focus of where the focus needs to be at this football club. We're rotten from top to bottom. The fans are infighting. The fans are going at the manager. The fans are going at the chairman. Everything is wrong at this football club. The players can't get up for any sort of game. It's the most toxic I've seen it. I said it last night on the fan show, since the late 90s when I used to go with my uncle sitting on the Park Lane. Constant Sugar and George Graham chants to get them out and stuff like that. And it feels like we're getting back to that kind of situation, and it's not where anyone wants to be. Big protests are happening on Sunday. And anyone that wants to get their voices heard, I suggest that you get down there. It's going to pull big numbers again like it did last time, hopefully this time even bigger. But that is where the number one focus needs to lie, because it's all happening on his watch. And Daniel Levy is the main problem at this football club. As much as we want to talk about Ange Postecoglou, yeah, he is a problem. And he's the one that's going to be the first and foremost one to go, because he's the first one that can go. But the reality is, it's manager after manager after manager, and Daniel Levy's the one that can't. He's the one that can make this all better if he makes the right decisions, and he's the one that needs to ultimately take the flak for everything. But right now, this Ange Postecoglou thing is taking that kind of attention away from it.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right, and I think the focus is all on Ange because he's obviously currently the figurehead of the footballing side, and yes, and I think he's not doing a good enough job anyway. But I think at the end of the day, it's just not a coincidence that this keeps happening at this football club. A lot of these managers have done brilliant jobs before coming to Tottenham, have done brilliant jobs after coming to Tottenham, but they just haven't been able to do a good job at Tottenham for one reason or another. And there's just one common denominator, and it's the hierarchy and how we run things and how we do things. And the reality is, I know they tried to go in a different direction when Ange got appointed, but at the moment things are getting worse and worse. And you can't expect fans to be on board and be more patient about the direction you're going in when we've gone from a team, even you look back to where we were under Martin Jol, we're even like well behind that kind of level. That was in 2005.
We're back to pretty much where we were when Levy took us over. I know we're in Europa League and we hadn't had European football for a long time before Levy, but you're looking at the league form and the league position and the matches week in, week out, the toxicity within the fan base and throughout the whole club. It seems as though we're back there.
Well, it's never been more fractured, this club. You got players like Romero, Sonny, Decky inferring things about the board. You've got Ange going at the fans. You've got fan protests against the board. You've got Ange snapping at reporters in press conferences and fans. You've got Ange snapping at fans. You've got you got players and fans having players abusing the fans after the game and all this kind of stuff. It's just everywhere you look is so fractured at the moment, like completely, and it's going to take a lot of rebuilding. I don't know how we rebuild it. And I don't know how you do that. It's going to take a lot of work. And I don't know what a new manager does, to be honest, right now. I don't know how much it helps.
New manager doesn't do much, but I think what it does do is take away that certain at least it takes away one element of toxicity, and that's the one between the fans and the manager. And I think that's a big one that needs to go, because that means attentions can just be on the sole kind of where it needs to be, and that is the ownership of this football club. And I think protest, you need to make your voices heard. All fans around the world need to make their voices heard, and even ones that are not making their voices heard but feel like they should be, Make your voices heard, people, and I think like the more people that do, the more powerful we are. So
I was watching Vicario's and Maddison's interviews last night, and their body language. I mean, they just seemed lost. They seemed so lost. They seemed like numb. They were saying it was like they were saying the right things with but there was just nothing behind their eyes. You know what I mean? They were saying, yeah, it's disappointing. The fans have a right to be angry, all these kind of things. But like, it was just almost as if like they didn't believe what they were saying, or I don't know what it was. Like Madison, I mean, he was outwardly saying he didn't want to be there. I don't want to be here, answer your questions. But he was like kind of also saying with his body language as well. He's like, I'm sure fans don't want to listen to me right now. They don't want to hear what I got to say.
Probably right, because I didn't listen to it.
Yeah, I listened. Well, I listened to it, and he just seemed, his body language to me seemed like a guy completely devoid of ideas and just seemed completely lost in this current moment. And that's where we are at the moment. And I'm sure, look, we said it before, Romero said that in an interview in Argentina, and I'm sure he says that in the dressing room as well. And I'm sure it's a sentiment in the dressing room about the ownership and all these kind of things, about how the top clubs always sign big players to push themselves on, and we always are lacking behind in those kind of things, and we don't do that. And I'm sure that's a sentiment that's always in the dressing room. Danny Rose said it. I'm sure he wasn't the only one in the dressing room feeling that way as well at that time.
It's not the first squad that felt like this.
Exactly. So,
managers as well, Conte, Mourinho.
Is there a point when you go, we have to have a discussion about when you talk about other players playing for the manager, maybe is there a point where you're saying other players playing for this club, if you know what I mean?
Yeah. But it's hard to play for this club when the club aren't doing enough to get the players playing for the club, if you know what I mean.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Like, maybe there is a massive sentiment.
That's why we're just rotten to the core. That's what we are right now, and it's hard to see a way out of it without massive changes right from the top. And that's the reality. So I think that's the match review from last night. Sim is officially ANGE out, people. You heard it here first. And let us know your thoughts in the comments section